The prince was born spoiled and became a fool after accidentally falling into the water and gradually fell out of favor. When I reached the age to have sex, my lady picked a maid with decent looks from the courtyard and sent her in to sleep with me. I have been able to raise pigs since I was a child, so I raised the prince to be handsome and well-behaved. Later, when he recovered from his illness, he despised me for being vulgar and uncultured, so he threw the indenture contract in my face and wanted to drive me away. I was so happy that I went home to feed the pigs. Later I heard that the prince had a huge tantrum and was threatening to leave the house to find his maid Savannah. Someone asked me if I was the maid, and I quickly waved my hand. My name is Claire. 1. The Prince of Rongon Marquis is famous for his bad temper. I heard that someone was whipped 30 times and thrown out of the mansion just because he sneezed in front of him. I am a maid in the eldest lady's courtyard. I serve tea and water every day, and I have also met the prince once. The prince has sharp eyebrows, bright eyes, red lips, and white teeth, and looks extremely noble. He just never looks people in the eye and is extremely arrogant. The concubines in the Marquis's mansion were all afraid of him, and the servants trembled when they heard he was coming. It was a hot summer that year, and somehow the prince, who could not swim, fell into the water. When he was rescued, his limbs were cold, his face was blue and purple, and he did not respond when his name was called. The imperial physician stayed in the Marquis's mansion for 3 days and saved the prince's life. When he woke up, the whole mansion was dumbfounded. The prince looked like a child, and his words were childish, just like a 5-year-old boy. He used to avoid servants like the devil, but now he would even pull their sleeves and play hide and seek. In this regard, the imperial physician gave a conclusion. It is probably because the water vapor in the prince's brain has not yet been completely eliminated. The Marquis turned pale and left with a wave of his sleeves. The eldest lady cried until her eyes were red and swollen. The news spread quickly, and now the whole capital knew that Adam Morris, the son of Rongon Marquis, had become a fool. But this has nothing to do with me. My indenture is for 3 years, and I can go home in 1 more year. Whether the prince is a genius or a fool has nothing to do with me. Ever since the prince became stupid, the Marquis has never come to the ladies' room again and goes to the concubine's room every night. The eldest lady has been very kind to me. Seeing her crying every day makes me feel sad. During the day, the eldest lady would go to accompany the prince and would ask us to go with her. Several of us maids accompanied the prince in flying kites and playing hide and seek. When we were playing hide and seek that day, I dozed off behind the pavilion. Someone blew in my eyes and I opened them. I saw the handsome face of the prince. He was very excited. I found you. Hey, you are so beautiful, like floating jade cake. How can anyone look like a pastry? I thought to myself that this prince is really not smart. The prince's words were passed on to the lady, who called me over to her side. Her eyes fell on my face with a look of amazement. Savannah is very pretty. My real name is Claire, and Savannah is the name given to me by the head nanny in the mansion. I can't even write that word. Madame dismissed everyone and left only me and the prince. I had a bad feeling. The lady sighed. Adam is already a young man. He refused to have a maid before and looked down on everyone. I indulged him, but now he is like this. She wiped the tears from her eyes and said, Savannah, you should go to the prince's room tonight and serve him. Finally, the lady advised, it would be best if you can get pregnant. The prince and I stared at each other, and he smiled brightly, with a naive look. 2. The madam arranged for a nanny to keep an eye on it. Miss Savannah, if there's anything you don't understand, just let us in. I answered through the door and looked inside the room. The prince was lying naked on the bed, playing with the ends of his hair. I am really in a dilemma. When I was a child, I saw pigs doing this kind of thing, so it should be similar. The candlelight flickered, and I looked at the prince quietly. He was so handsome, with a pair of captivating almond-shaped eyes under his long eyelashes. Savannah, I'm so hot. The prince kicked away the quilt, with anxiety showing between his brows. I quickly put the quilt back on him and said, "Cover yourself up, my lord. Don't catch a cold." The dim room was quiet for a while, and then a rustling sound was heard. The prince was unbuttoning my clothes. "Savannah, you are sweating." The nanny outside the door urged again. I made up my mind and hugged the prince. The candlelight went out, leaving only the warmth of the hibiscus tent. The next day, the nanny came to check and looked satisfied. While the prince was still asleep, I dressed neatly and sneaked out of the house and went to the pharmacy to buy abortion pills. I don't want to have the prince's child, and I have no feelings for him. If the prince recovers from his illness, he will definitely marry and have children. He is so domineering, my child will not have a good ending. What's more, I don't have much money and can't support a child. When I returned, the Marquis's concubine, Aunt Nora, came to visit the crown prince and brought him the most fashionable pastries. When the prince reached out his hand, Aunt Nora accidentally dropped the cake on the ground. "Hey, prince, pick it up and eat it, otherwise it won't taste good." Upon hearing this, the prince foolishly went to pick it up. I happened to see this scene when I arrived. The prince used to often verbally humiliate Aunt Nora, saying that she was a vixen and told her not to offend the First Lady. Aunt Nora didn't show it on her face, but she was resentful in her heart. I pushed the prince away, picked up the cake myself, and patted the dust off it. "Prince, you can't do this. How can you do such a thing?" Aunt Nora looked up at me and asked, "Where did you come from, maid?" Replying to Aunt Nora, "I am here to take care of the prince's daily life." Aunt Nora held her handkerchief over her mouth and laughed. "Yes, someone should take care of her. Well, I'll come visit the prince another day. Alas, I don't know if he will still be the prince by then." Aunt Nora stroked her belly with a smug look on her face. After she left, the prince curled his lips, tears slowly filled his eyes, and whispered, "Savannah, it hurts." I lifted up his clothes and found that his knee was scratched and bleeding. If it had happened to me, I wouldn't have felt it. The prince is truly noble. Please sit down, my lord. I will apply the medicine on you. I carefully applied the ointment and heard the prince ask, "Savannah, have you changed your name to Slave?" I was speechless for a moment. The prince then said, "Don't call me Prince, call me Adam." I turned a deaf ear to it and let it go in one ear and out the other. "I called you Adam. I don't want to live anymore." 3. The Marquis hasn't visited the prince for a long time. There have been some undercurrents in the Marquis mansion recently, and everyone is saying that the crown prince's position will be replaced. The eldest lady was in a bad mood, so I told her some interesting stories from my childhood in the village to cheer her up. And the eldest lady would always look at me with regret. "It's a pity for your background." The prince wanted to slip away when my wife and I weren't paying attention. I followed him all the way and saw him enter the back garden filled with the fragrance of osmanthus. He picked a bunch of osmanthus and wanted to climb the tree to pick them. He really was like a child, forgetting all worldly worries and focusing only on the osmanthus flowers in front of him. The servants on both sides lowered their heads and chuckled. I felt a sudden discomfort in my chest, so I could only grab the hem of the prince's clothes and said, "Prince, it's dangerous. Come down quickly." The white silver osmanthus was fragrant. The prince plucked off the excess branches, made them into a hairpin, and put it in my hair naturally. He lowered his eyes and smiled, his expression serious. "It looks good." My heart was moved and I looked away hastily. Unexpectedly, he asked again, "Savannah, when can we do what we did that night again?" Fortunately, The sound was not loud and no one else heard it. My ears felt hot, so I grabbed his sleeve and walked away. Sir, stop talking. Day after day, as winter was approaching, the prince's condition showed no improvement. Not only that, the situation is even more serious. The reason was that the prince heard the sound of children playing outside the door, so he climbed over the wall and disappeared. The eldest lady was furious and changed her usual gentle attitude. She punished me to kneel in the prince's room, and I could only stand up when the prince came back. It was late at night, almost time for curfew, when the guards finally found the prince. I heard from the guards that the handsome prince played in the mud with a group of 3-year-old kids, got covered in mud, and even cried when he lost the cockfight. He also said that the people were making fun of the prince, saying that the prince was shouting on the street that his favorite maid Savannah was him. The prince is back, and the eldest lady still asked me to kneel. First, I failed to supervise the prince well enough, and he ran away from the house, causing a joke. Second, I didn't see my own identity clearly, so it was my fault that the prince shouted that. My knees hurt so much that I lost feeling, and I couldn't stop breaking out in cold sweats. The more I thought about it, the more aggrieved I felt. Originally, I only needed to stay in Anhui for another year before I could go home, but the eldest lady sent me to the prince's room for no apparent reason, and now she is blaming me. Alas, I wiped away my tears. It's still better to live in the village, without so many twists and turns. A handkerchief suddenly appeared in front of him. It was the prince. He put his arm around my shoulders and carefully held me up. I tried hard to hold back the pain and not make a sound. He picked me up, keeping a straight face and not saying a word. It looked like he had returned to the time before he fell into the water. My heart trembled. Back in the house, he took out the medicine box, and as soon as he opened my clothes, tears welled up in his eyes. I breathed a sigh of relief. He is still a silly prince. Savannah, I was wrong. I shouldn't have sneaked out to play. But I didn't lie. I asked, "What?" He glanced at me quickly and then lowered his head. "I just like Savannah the most." The surroundings were suddenly extremely quiet, and every drop of rain outside the window fell into my heart, bringing a hint of sweetness. It's so annoying. I slapped myself in the face. "Claire, wake up." At night, the prince leaned on my shoulder and whispered, "I want to grow up quickly." I curled my lips and asked, "Why?" "When I grow up, I will marry Savannah and become Savannah's husband." I knew I shouldn't indulge myself, but my cheeks still blushed at these sweet words. 4. Aunt Nora has been pregnant for more than 5 months. The Marquis's words showed his intention to change the title. The eldest lady searched all over the world for doctors, and the prince took more and more medicine. Unexpectedly, things really started to improve. I was by his side early in the morning when he finally came to his senses. As soon as I opened my eyes, I saw the prince's disgusted look. "Get off, you dare." I quickly put on my clothes and watched many people come in and squeeze into the prince's room. The eldest lady cried with joy and passed by me without even giving me a glance. The Marquis arrived late, with a look of joy on his face. Although Adam Morris is spoiled, he is talented and has a broad mind and a good understanding of the overall situation, making him the perfect choice for the prince. The room was surrounded by people, and a maid touched me and said, "Miss Savannah, this is over. The prince will definitely kill you." I was filled with worry, but I still wanted to go home alive. The eldest lady waved her hand. "Savannah, come here." I walked over with my head down and in small steps, not daring to look up. The prince and I once slept in the same bed, but we are not the same kind of people after all. The first lady smiled and said, "From now on, just keep Savannah in the room so that she won't be delayed in getting married." I heard the prince reject it coldly. "No." I knelt down hastily and kowtowed to the madam. Madam, I only wish to return to your room and serve you tea and water. This, I was still wearing that ridiculous osmanthus hairpin on my head, so I quickly hid it before the prince noticed. This is against the rules. You have already followed the prince, so there is no reason for you to go back. The eldest lady signaled the maid to help me up. I calculated in my mind that in 3 months I would be able to go home. When he raised his eyes, he met the prince's dark eyes. He looked away first. I don't need maids in my yard. The eldest lady was unusually stubborn this time and insisted that I stay. Her words implied that if the prince did not marry, she would give him a few more maids as concubines. After everyone left, only he and I were left. I thought he would say something hurtful, but he just said calmly, "Get out." That's right, the prince looks down on servants the most. I comforted myself that as long as I wasn't killed, it was better than anything else. Maids are also divided into different levels. I, a maid, have served as the prince's companion, so it is not my turn to do the chores of sweeping the floor and washing clothes. I am happy to have a leisurely life and take care of the flowers and plants in the lower courtyard every day. It became difficult to serve tea and water to the prince. No one dared to go in and looked at me. I pretended not to see them and finally chose a servant named Little Blind Man. He is not blind, he just has a scar in the corner of his eye. The little blind man stepped in with trembling legs, looking as if the wind was whistling and the water was cold. In a short while, he ran out tumbling and crawling. The prince said I was ugly and told me to stay away from him. "Miss Savannah, the prince wants you to come in and serve him." These few days, I figured it out. I just regarded the time when the prince became stupid as a wet dream. Can you grind ink? My thoughts were drawn back to my senses, and when I came to my senses, the prince was frowning and lowering his head with an impatient tone. The ink in front of me overflowed and flowed onto the prince's mahogany table and was about to touch the prince's sleeve. I woke up suddenly and shuddered all over. By the time I found a rag to wipe it, the prince's sleeves were already dirty. I knelt down and said, "It is my fault that I am stupid. Please punish me, my lord." It was obvious that if he raised his arms, he would not get his sleeves dirty, but the prince refused to move, waiting for the ink to soak into his sleeves bit by bit. "You can't even do a small thing like this." I looked at the prince quietly. He was still writing without moving. Suddenly, he caught my gaze and met my eyes accurately. He scolded, "Lower your head." After a while, the prince seemed to remember me and asked me to get up. Suddenly, I remembered that the last time I was punished to kneel was also because of the prince. I stood in the room for as long as the prince wrote. From then on, he was never seen wearing this green shirt again. 5. Everyone in the entire mansion knows that the prince hates me. As long as I am around, his brows are always furrowed, like ink spots that can never be wiped off. I think so too. It was because of me that he made such a fool of himself during the time he was sick. I was so sad that I had no tears left. I counted the days every day and looked forward to going home early. There are still 2 months left, so I decided to be more cautious and stay away from the prince. I couldn't sleep in the middle of the night, so I chatted with my maid Haley. I told her that I would be able to go home in 2 months. She laughed and said, "Savannah, you are so silly. You are the prince's maidservant. Maybe you can become a concubine in the future, which will bring you endless wealth and glory." Tisk, why do you have to go home and raise pigs? I replied, "I raise pigs, so I don't have to live under the pig's will." Haley turned sideways and said quietly, "Why do I feel like you are scolding the prince?" "No, it's not that I can't be a concubine, but I just don't want to be the prince's concubine." "Oh," I said with a depressed look. "I can't explain it clearly. Anyway, the prince is high above, and I'm just a maid. There's nothing to do with him." She sighed. That's fine. When you come home, you won't have to be so humble. My chaotic mind gradually calmed down, and I was about to close my eyes and dream of going home, but she said, No, Savannah, since you have become a maid, the 2 months in the contract of sale are no longer valid, right? Will your parents let you stay in the mansion forever? What? I sat up suddenly, stars in my eyes. The next day, I was absent-minded, with my indenture contract in my mind full of thoughts. Compared to me, Dad naturally needs more money. Forget it, I gave myself courage and found the eldest lady. The eldest lady has been looking for a candidate for the crown prince's consort recently. When I went there, she was looking at the portrait and praising it highly. This woman is good-looking and talented. She's a suitable candidate. This one is even better, the concubine's cousin, but the queen sighed. The eldest lady noticed me and said, You came at the right time. Send all the portraits to the prince. She warned me, the prince says one thing but means another. Watch him carefully. If he smiles after seeing a portrait, even if he says he doesn't like it, he likes it in his heart. Yes, I remember it. Seeing that the eldest lady was tired, I knelt down and said, Madam, I want to ask if I can go home in 2 months. I still have parents to take care of at home. The eldest lady smiled and said, You remember it clearly. Your indenture contract has been taken by Chinner. I returned with a bundle of portraits. The prince was reading a book and his expression darkened when he saw the portraits. I kept the eldest lady's instructions in mind and looked carefully at the prince's expression. She introduced him, Your Highness, this is the daughter of the minister, who has just turned 15. This is the cousin of the imperial concubine, and she is known as the most beautiful woman in the capital. The prince said sternly, Be quiet. I shut my mouth immediately. The portraits were unfolded and thrown away, and soon they were scattered on the ground. Before I could move, the prince anticipated, Don't pick it up. I thought that the eldest lady really understood the prince. When he saw the portrait of the imperial concubine's cousin just now, there was a faint smile in his eyes. The prince seemed annoyed. He walked to the portrait and picked up one. What do you think? Should she be the prince's consort? I lowered my eyes and said, The eldest lady said that it all depends on the prince's preference. The prince rubbed his temple, not looking at me, and rolled up the scroll casually. Find someone who is gentle and kind. She won't bully you in the future. I didn't say anything. The prince started to talk more. When the prince's wife comes, I will make you my concubine. You should also learn some music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, so as not to let others look down on you. He whispered, I can teach you to write. The white paper on the mahogany table was filled with the word Savannah, but unfortunately I could only recognize the word lawn. 6. The prince finished talking to himself and let me leave. I bent down and picked up all the portraits he had just thrown away, and then put the portrait of him smiling on top. I felt like there was a stone stuck in my heart. The prince wants to make me his concubine. This is such a blessing. My parents will probably be overjoyed if they know this. But why am I not happy at all? I even thought it would be great if the stupid prince who had fallen ill before was real. How great it would be if he was not a prince, but just a peddler on the street. Prince, my slave's indenture. The prince raised his head. It's here with me. I want to ask, will I be able to go home soon? There was a moment of silence, and the doors and windows that were not closed tightly creaked in the wind. The scroll in my hand was also blown off and scattered all over the floor. The prince sneered twice and exhaled heavily. I know what you are thinking. I was framed and fell into the water before. After I got sick, I just said some crazy things. Don't take it seriously. Savannah, your family is in Yellowfong village. You have 2 younger brothers, half an acre of land, 2 pigs, and your whole family depends on the money you brought into the mansion to survive. Someone like you can't be the crown prince's consort. Give up your thoughts." I took a moment to finally speak. "Who am I?" The prince looked slightly angry. "What happened to you today?" "I just want to know what kind of person I am in the eyes of the prince." After a moment of silence, the prince waved his sleeves and said, "Get out." I picked up the portrait and quietly wiped away my tears. The osmanthus hairpin in my sleeve fell out. The petals had turned yellow and the fragrance was almost gone. The prince was surprised. "You still keep it." The next second, I stepped on it hard. "My lord, I just forgot to throw it away." "You." The prince did not get angry but laughed. Okay. Then I will tell you. You can go home in 1 month and 8 days, but during this month and 8 days, you have to stay in the room and serve me. After this month and 8 days, I will send someone to your home again, and your parents will continue to sell you and let you stay in the Marquis mansion for the rest of your life. In my eyes, you are illiterate, vulgar, boring, and you have no self-awareness. My eyes were filled with tears, but I stubbornly refused to let them fall. I felt a surge of anger in my chest, and I thought, the worst that could happen is death. I pushed him hard, and the prince didn't pay attention and staggered a few steps because of my push. If I had a butcher knife, I would chop off his mouth. It's better not to have a mouth that speaks so rudely. The prince is the one who has no self-awareness. I forced back my tears and looked at him angrily. I don't care about the crown prince's consort. I didn't want to take care of you at first, but the eldest lady sent me here, so I had no choice but to come. I don't like you, prince. The person I want to marry must be a gentle person. I don't care even if he has no power." The prince was so angry that he was shaking. He took out my indenture from the secret box in the bookcase behind him and threw it at me. "Get out." I kicked the portrait away, picked up the indenture from the ground, wiped it with heartache, and left without looking back. As I reached the door, I bumped into the eldest lady. She had a gloomy face and was surrounded by servants who pricked up their ears. The lady raised her hand slightly, and 2 strong men held me hostage. "First, give him 10 lashes to see if he admits his fault." 7. When the whip fell on my body, I regretted it. Claire, Claire. How could you be so stupid? You forgot who you are. If the prince wants to beat or scold you, just bear with it. Arguing with the prince is just seeking death. The first time I was whipped, I broke out in a cold sweat and my back felt like it was on fire, stinging and painful. I was afraid that I would run out of energy later, so I immediately shouted, "Madam, I admit my mistake." No one cares. Another whip. The person holding the whip must have a grudge against me, so he hit me where it hurts. When it came to the 5th whip, I thought to myself, is the prince watching me being punished? It turns out he hates me so much. I still misjudged the person. I mistook the stupid prince for the real prince. Adam Morris is a man with a cold face and a hard heart. The 10th whip fell, tearing up tiny pieces of flesh and blood. The smell of blood filled the nose. It was so unpleasant. The little blind man and Haley carried me back to the room. Haley cried, "Savannah, you are so confused." I didn't feel any pain and was able to smile. My name is Claire. I'll tell you my name and we can still be friends when I get out. Haley told me her name, too. I fell into a deep sleep. Late at night, I woke up in pain. Someone was applying medicine on me, and I was thinking in a daze. Haley is so nice to me. She bought me the best ointment. It feels cool and comfortable. Even though the man's movements were gentle, it still hurt a lot. Hiss, it hurts. I'll be gentler. It was the prince's voice. I rubbed my eyes and found myself lying on the prince's bed. I felt even more pain instantly. Since I didn't want to talk, I pretended to be asleep. After applying the medicine, the prince went to the desk to read. No one spoke until dawn. I have been recovering from my injuries for this month. The prince seemed to have become mute. He only remembered to come and apply medicine every day. Sometimes, late at night, he would lie down beside me and fall asleep. I could only sleep on my side with my back to him. When I was about to fall asleep, I heard the prince's hoarse voice. "Does it hurt?" I opened my eyes. He then asked, "Why won't you give in?" I'm too lazy to pay attention to him. I dare not think about it. I cried bitterly after just 10 lashes. How could the person who was lashed 30 times for sneezing still be alive? Counting the days, today is my last day in the Marquis mansion, and the prince has not returned. I was afraid that he would really send someone to look for my parents. I didn't want to stay in the Marquis mansion all my life. Maybe others want this blessing, but I don't. I don't want to live the rest of my life as a slave in the Marquis mansion, and I don't want to go against my conscience and say to the gentle future Crown Princess Consort, "I won't fight or compete. I'm willing to share a husband with you." I don't want to see the person I like. Every time I go home, I am worried about which woman's room to go to tonight. When my name is put together with the prince's name, people will laugh. The prince came back, but he was injured. It turned out that during the time I was recuperating, Aunt Nora ate the wrong food and lost the fetus. She was convinced that the prince was the one who did it. As a result, the eldest lady found a witness to prove that it was Aunt Nora who caused the prince to fall into the water. The Marquis wants to kick Aunt Nora out of the house. Before leaving, Aunt Nora stabbed the prince with a knife. She wanted the Marquis to have no children or grandchildren. I was able to walk and watch them help the prince back. He was drowsy and said, "I'm fine." "Where's Savannah?" "I am thinking about my indenture." While everyone was in a panic and gathered around the prince, I took the indenture contract back from the secret box, packed my bags, and left the mansion. The air outside was sweet and fresh, and the depression in my heart disappeared instantly. I took a deep breath and headed towards home. 8. When I got home, my mother was packing her things. She burst into tears of joy when she saw me. "My Claire." "Mom, where's Dad?" "Your father got tuberculosis and died." Mother said, "You've come back just in time. I'm planning to sell the house and sell pork in town. I've already picked out a place." "Back then, your father insisted on selling you." Mother was heartbroken. My mother wanted to hug me, but accidentally touched my unhealed wound. Tears flashed in her eyes. "I'm glad you're back. You've suffered a lot." My mother and I moved to the town. The butcher's shop was not big. They raised pigs in the backyard and sold pork in the front. My mother was pretty and spoke well. So many customers came to buy meat. My younger brothers were old enough to go to private school, so I was responsible for sending them there. When I came back, I fed the pigs, did the laundry, and lived a comfortable life. "Claire, do you want to get married?" My mother asked me. "I will choose carefully for you. Don't choose someone like your father." "I'll do whatever you say, Mom." My mother really took it to heart. There was a scholar in the private school where my younger brothers went to. He was the son of the teacher. My mother would send pork to the teacher's wife every few days and ask me to stay there longer after sending my brother off. I didn't have that interest at first and just listened to the class for a while. The scholar always keeps his back straight and speaks as softly as the wind, so all the children like him. He said, "Girl, come in and listen." I learned a lot of words from them, and when I got home, I could recite the poems that my younger brother couldn't. Mother covered her mouth and laughed. "Our Claire is also smart." That day, the scholar taught me the unity of knowledge and action, but the principle was too obscure and difficult to understand, so I just looked at him. He blushed and his voice became quieter. The children's reading was interrupted when several guards came in and took out a portrait. Has anyone seen a maid named Savannah? I looked behind the scholar and saw that it was me in the portrait, wearing an osmanthus hairpin in my hair. The scholar saw me hiding behind him and said, "I've never seen it before." The children were all smart and started chattering loudly. The guards found it too noisy and just asked a few questions before stopping. "Your name is Savannah?" the scholar asked in confusion. I shook my head. "My name is Claire." The scholar said, "But the person in the portrait looks just like you. They are looking for the prince's maidservant. Is that you?" I understood, and although I denied it, I never came to class again. I told my mother that I was afraid I wouldn't be able to get married. No one else would want to be a concubine. What's more, there are scholars who claim to be noble. My mother comforted me. "It's okay. If you can't get married, just accompany me to sell pork and earn a lot of money." My mother didn't tell me that the guards also came to ask her that day. She didn't care and told the guard that this was her daughter. Just the next day, a nobleman in luxurious clothes appeared in front of our pork shop. His guards followed behind him, and no one else dared to come and buy meat. I said calmly, "How many pounds of pork would you like, sir?" He handed over a hairpin. It is an elaborately carved osmanthus pattern and is very valuable. I pushed the hairpin aside with my butcher knife. "If you don't want to buy meat, get out of the way." 9. The hairpin fell to the ground. My mother patted me on the shoulder. She felt that I had offended the distinguished guest. Adam Morris smiled and said, "It's okay, just pick it up." A guard wanted to pick it up, but was scared away by his look. He leaned over to pick up the osmanthus hairpin and wiped it. "I want all the meat." Mother was overjoyed. "Okay." Mother was chopping meat, again and again, and the minced meat splattered all over Adam Morris's clothes. He just frowned slightly and didn't take it seriously. "Do you like that, scholar?" Mother found out that he was asking me questions and gradually realized something was wrong. I nodded. "Yes." Adam Morris said okay and turned and left. In the evening, my mother asked me about it and I told her everything. Mother had a complicated expression. "I think you are stupid, but I am glad you are back." The next day, the scholar got married. I heard that it was a marriage arranged by the prince, so it was considered a good match. The wedding procession passed by the butcher's shop. The big red sedan chair looked very festive and the scholar was smiling and looked very happy. I chopped the pork with great force. Adam Morris walked through the crowd, alone this time. "You're angry. Do you really like him?" I really couldn't understand this prince, so I asked him, "Prince, what exactly do you want to do?" Adam Morris looked away. "I want to apologize to you. That day you asked me to sell my indenture. I didn't expect you would want to leave me so much. So I said a lot of nasty things. It was all a lie when I said you were vulgar, boring, and had no self-awareness. In fact, you're smart and kind. You are nice to everyone, especially to me." I put down the knife and looked at him calmly. "Prince, you are more confused than me. You don't understand what I am thinking." Adam Morris took out the hairpin and said, "You don't want to be a concubine. You want to be with your beloved for the rest of your life. I've thought about it for a long time, and I can do it." The hairpin sparkled in the sunlight, just like his status as a prince, and my butcher knife was stained with blood, just like my status. The two are unrelated, so why force fate? The prince would come every day after that. Because of me, he became a joke again. Previously, everyone said that he fell in love with a maid because he had become stupid. Now, some people say that the prince's illness is definitely not fully cured and needs further treatment. Later, no matter how strange the things were, everyone got used to them. For example, the prince is selling pork. I don't know what the Marquis is thinking. Even my mother said that the prince is crazy. Adam Morris didn't care that his clothes were dirty. His mother wanted him to stay for dinner, and he agreed. The wooden chairs in our house are all made by ourselves. There are some places on them that are not scraped clean and will scratch our clothes. I habitually found a cushion for him. When he sat down, I was stunned. I took care of him before because I liked him. Now I just think of him as the prince. I had no taste for this meal. My mother left after eating. She wanted me to explain things clearly to the prince, so as not to affect the business. Prince, please go back. Adam Morris continued to pick up food and eat in small bites. After a while, he said, "Can you call me Adam again? Whether it's Savannah or Claire, I always miss you after you left. The 10 lashes you received are what I regret the most. You said you like gentle people. I will change slowly." His eyes were slightly red. "Savannah, I have come this far." I interrupted him and said, "Your Highness, you don't understand what I'm thinking. You are the crown prince, shouldering the glory of the entire marquisate. In the future, you will be a minister, responsible for the livelihood of the people and the future of the court. You shouldn't be eating here. Just like when you want to sit down, I will find a cushion for you. No matter how much we have been through, you will always be the prince, and I will always be a maid. What separates us is not this wooden table, but many people and many things. We are not a match. You can't give me what I want, and I won't be what you want. Let's forget about those few months." We sat there until sunset, and it seemed as if we all knew that this was the last time we would spend together. Finally, Adam Morris left a message. "I won't marry anyone else except you." I laughed at how naive he was. 10. The eldest lady sent someone to bring the prince back home. My mother and I's life returned to normal. But the Marquis's mansion always sent people to buy meat, and also brought letters and some jewelry. My mother sighed. "After the prince made such a fuss, I don't know whether he will get married or not." "You will never be able to get married." As the days passed, I heard that the prince really rejected many marriage proposals. The eldest lady was so angry that she fell ill and could not get up. The Marquis didn't care about it. Although the prince did not marry, he was highly appreciated by the emperor after serving as an official in the court. He was about to go to the war and make great achievements. But it has nothing to do with me. My mother and I moved to a bigger shop, and our business is booming. My younger brothers have grown up slowly and helped share a lot of the work. I also got to go out for a walk. What the people are talking about keeps changing, and it is no longer about me and the prince. Sometimes when I see others in pairs, I envy them. I recently noticed a handsome man selling bamboo baskets on the street. People from other places probably haven't heard any rumors. I took the opportunity to ask when I was buying the bamboo basket. "Where are you from? How old are you this year? Are you married? What's your name?" The man looked at me embarrassedly, his cheeks flushed, but he still answered seriously. "I'm from Pingjiang. I'm 20 years old, and I'm still single. My name is Tyler Morgan." I praised. What a nice name. Everything in the past is like smoke. The sound of horses' hooves rose up behind me, raising a cloud of dust. I covered my nose and mouth and watched the armored soldiers riding past. The leader had an arrogant look on his face. Girl? I asked, "What's wrong? May I have your name?" For the first time, I felt that the name my mother gave me was not nice. "My name is Claire." Tyler Morgan imitated me. Nice name. My mother heard about Tyler Morgan from somewhere and went to investigate in person. After returning, she praised him. "That child is good. Mom has told you everything. He knows everything and even asked me what I like." This is the first time a man has asked me what I like. I told him, "Actually, I like peach blossoms, meat, and children the most." The next year, we got married. Our wedding line was also very long. I wore the wedding dress my mother made for me and held Tyler Morgan's hand. Tyler Morgan is shy. When people in town tease him, He just looks at me, raises the corners of his mouth, and calls me wife. He taught me how to weave bamboo baskets, helped me feed the pigs, and planted a peach tree in the yard. Life is plain and simple, but I still look forward to every morning. The war in the distance has ended, and the crown prince has returned triumphantly. The emperor has personally arranged the marriage, and the queen's sister, who just came of age this year, has been betrothed to the crown prince. The prince agreed. That afternoon, I will not marry anyone else except you. It also disappeared with the gradually cold wind. Another year passed, there was heavy snow, and my child was born. I held Tyler Morgan's arms tightly and hit him whenever it hurt, but he didn't say a word. Tyler Morgan even shed tears. Wife, this one is enough. I kept echoing, enough is enough. When it came time to name the child, I was stumped. My mother said his name was Christian Morgan because there was a river in front of our house. I said her name was Jonathan Morgan, and I wish her a smooth and peaceful life. Tyler Morgan mused. Jonathan Morgan sounds good. Mother smiled. Whatever Claire says sounds good. New Year is here, and the sound of firecrackers is ringing. It turns out that time passes so quickly when people feel happy. Extra. It was Adam Morris' first time going to the battlefield. He had studied military tactics since he was a child, but he still lacked the ability. My mother said that you will be a marquis in the future and will have to endure more hardships than others. But Adam Morris had a very comfortable childhood. He was loved by his whole family and could get whatever he wanted. In his eyes, no one is important. Those servants are nothing but ants, insignificant. Aunt Nora is vying for favor, and Adam Morris has always looked down on women like her. She hid in the house, depended on men, and tried to attract her father's attention by attracting attention. My mother never competes for favor. He later understood why. Because her mother was the principal wife and her son was the crown prince, she did not need to compete for favor. That fall into the water changed Adam Morris. Savannah, he thought, what a nice name. How could there be such a good-looking person? Her eyebrows and eyes were all in his heart. He was as childlike in mind, and Savannah was never impatient with him and always took good care of her. If Adam Morris scraped his knee, Savannah would apply some medicine to him. Under the thick eyelashes, the big eyes flickered. She was obviously a maid, but she wasn't afraid when she looked at people. They had the most intimate love affair, and in Adam Morris's heart, they had become the closest people. It's a pity that this was something Adam Morris only figured out later. When he recovered, his first reaction when he saw Savannah lying beside his bed was anger. He is the prince. How could he treat a servant like this? He told her to go out with a cold face and watched her put on her clothes helplessly and stand in the corner. Everyone came in one after another, asking him about his well-being, and his mother even cried. But Savannah just stood there calmly, with her head down, not knowing what she was thinking. Mother wanted Savannah to stay in the hospital. Adam Morris's first reaction was to refuse. A voice deep inside him said, "Let her stay." She was like a poppy, and if he really stayed, he was afraid that he would get deeper and deeper into trouble. He deliberately treated her coldly, kept his distance from her, and resisted the urge to look at her. Adam Morris thought it would be great if Savannah wasn't a maid. Seeing her absent-minded while grinding ink, Adam Morris looked at her quietly, and when she came back to her senses, he said coldly, "You can't even do such a small thing." He pursed his lips, and his childhood habits made him blurt out a scolding. He spent several days and nights convincing himself to keep Savannah as a concubine. When there is a crown princess in the future, he will protect Savannah and will not let her become a woman like Aunt Nora. Savannah brought a portrait, and Adam Morris looked at it casually and found that Savannah was staring at him intently. There was a rare smile in his eyes. He casually brought up the subject of concubines, but Savannah asked about her indenture. Adam Morris' chest ached with anger. Didn't she know that she had made up her mind? Rejecting myself. He blurted out some unpleasant words again. What he wanted to say was not vulgar or boring. What he wanted to say was, "No matter what you are like, I like you." This was the first time Adam Morris had an argument with someone, and he listened to Savannah saying that the person she wanted to marry must be a gentle person. He was completely pissed. So he stayed in the room while his mother whipped Savannah. He thought it would be nice to feel some pain. But when Savannah lay unconscious on the bed, Adam Morris finally understood what was in his heart. If I love her, I can't bear to see her get hurt. The reason I like her is that I can't bear to say a harsh word to her. What was he doing before? The baby in Aunt Nora's belly was killed by someone hired by her mother. Adam Morris discovered that no matter what kind of woman she is, she will change once she is trapped in a house. But he didn't want to give up Savannah. When Savannah left, he was injured, and when he woke up, he sent someone to look for her. He couldn't think of a solution, but he couldn't leave Savannah. The head nanny said that Savannah was the name she gave, and Savannah's real name was not registered at the time. Adam Morris was still ill. He sat at the table and drew a portrait of Savannah. The guards searched day after day and finally got some news. In just a few days, Savannah fell in love with a scholar. Adam Morris went to see it himself. Is this the gentle person? He just speaks in a low voice and talks about some random knowledge. He put aside his status as the crown prince and apologized to Savannah. He learned how to feed pigs, and he went through what Savannah was going through. But Savannah still said to him, "Let's just forget it." The osmanthus hairpin was never given away. Adam Morris said, "I will not marry anyone else but you." He entered the court as an official, and as Savannah said, he worked hard for the livelihood of the people. He went to the battlefield to kill enemies and make achievements. He wanted to bring glory to his father. Could he make a request? For example, only marry Savannah in this life. But when he came back, the Holy Lord's grace came down. The Queen's sister? Never seen before. He tried to fight it in every way possible, but to no avail. Only now did he understand what Savannah said. There are so many people and things between us that we are not compatible. No wonder Mother said that you would suffer more. From the beginning to the end, he had no say in his marriage. Compared to him, perhaps Savannah is the truly happy person.